What's going on? Brian Tong here, and welcome to the Apple Bits for everything good and bad inside the world of Apple. We've got iPhone 13 news, we've got Apple Watch Series 7, and more on tap. But hey, let's start off with that iPhone. We haven't talked about it, even though you know a lot about it, but we already know, come on, our phones, our cameras, and our cameras are our phones. And according to the latest report from Ming-Chi Kuo, the high-end iPhone 13 Pro and Pro Max will feature a new upgraded ultra-wide angle camera with an autofocus compared to the current fixed focus ultra-wide camera on the iPhone 12. Now, this will allow it to bring even sharper photos no matter what the distance a subject or someone is from the lens. And it never even really crossed my mind that, yeah, the current one was a fixed focus lens. I kind of just said, hey, it's here, it's there, it does the job. But now if you're having an autofocus, it does have some other advantages, because maybe they could potentially incorporate the same center stage AI technology that the M1 iPad Pro has with its camera that allows it to track a person and keep that person in focus. Now, we know that it's a front-facing camera on the iPad Pro, but even if it doesn't take advantage of it, having autofocus capability still makes this a better camera. Now, the camera system on the iPhone 13 is expected to get upgrades across the board. Kuo has reported previously that the ultra-wide camera will also get significantly improved low-light performance, upgraded to an f1.8 aperture and a 6-element lens. The current iPhone 12 Pro ultra-wide has an f2.4 aperture. Also, we've heard reports that Apple will be bringing its sensor shift optical image stabilization that was a first in the 12 Pro Max to the entire iPhone 13 lineup this year. And it definitely makes a difference, but I'm still wondering, like, could they have given that to us last year to all the models, but maybe they just held out because that's what Apple does? The biggest thing that I really want to see, though, is at least a 5x optical zoom on an iPhone, but I don't think it's coming because there hasn't been a single report about it. And right now, it's a 2x optical zoom for the 12 Pro and a 2.5x optical zoom for the 12 Pro Max, and that's pretty weak because the Galaxy S21 Ultra and its periscope lens, which is flat out just impressive, gives us a true 10x optical zoom. The iPhone right now, the highest level iPhone, has 1/4 of that at best. Ugh. But without any periscope lens tech or significant change, we really shouldn't expect it to get that much better. Now, the iPhone 13 system is getting improvements that are all welcome, and a better zoom would really be the most impactful here. But even if they don't have it, people are not going to leave the ecosystem, and Apple knows this because they have really got us by the apples. Kuo also reports Apple will be bringing the ultra-wide lens with autofocus and improved low-light performance to all the phones in 2022, or what will likely be called the iPhone 14 if they stick with that current naming pattern. Now, it's similar to what Apple did with the sensor shift stabilization last year, limiting it to a specific model and then giving it to everyone the following year. But if we want to look ahead to the iPhone 14, let's do it. Next year, Kuo says that in 2022, we will see 4 iPhone models, but the mini will be gone, and then we'll have 4 phones at the 6.1 and 6.7 inch sizes for the iPhone 14 and 14 Pros instead. Kuo adds that difference between the low-end and higher-end Pro phones will be an under-the-display Touch ID sensor that's been rumored, for years now, and trailing Android phones at the same time. The higher-end iPhones will also bring cameras featuring a new wide-angle 48-megapixel camera compared to its current 12-megapixel camera. Apple is also then planning on releasing a new iPhone SE with the same design but improved performance in 2022. Now, a report from DigiTimes claims Apple is starting preparation for the iPhone 13 ahead of its expected launch in September. This is not a surprise, but here's your look at more photos of the dummy models of the new iPhones that were released on Chinese social media site Weibo. These come from the people that made accurate versions of the iPhone 12 last year based on leaked CAD designs. And the biggest differences here, well, you can see the notch slightly smaller, but that's primarily because of the change of the location of the speaker and moving it to the top edge of the bezel and not in the middle of the notch itself. The standard iPhone 13 model and the mini will be getting a new diagonal camera arrangement that's different as well, and this is believed to be changed for improved augmented reality performance. But the big improvements we expect to see here are the camera improvements that we covered earlier. We got the ultra-wide camera, the sensor image stabilization across the entire line. Then other features, we got a 120 hertz refresh rate with the potential always on screen. And then we could also maybe see some kind of astrophotography mode to compete with the Galaxy's 100x space zoom that is a combination of optical and digital camera enhancements. All right, so we've got Apple Watch Series 7 to talk about, but before we get to that, let's take a moment to thank Trade Coffee for sponsoring this video. Trade Coffee is my lifeline for those late night edits, and with Trade, you can discover new coffees from the nation's best local roasters. Trade matches you to your own personal selection of coffee and conveniently delivers it to your door. So here's how it works. Step 1, take the 7-question quiz to answer questions about how you like your coffee, and I'm not even a coffee junkie, and Trade curated the matches just for me. Step 2, choose your delivery frequency and it will appear at your door and delivered for peak freshness. And step 3, you can rate your matches so Trade can continue to suggest coffees that you'll love. Now, Trade uses compostable packaging to ship all of their coffee in. One of the suggestions they sent me was Sparrow's Coffee All Seasons Blend with its honey-like sweetness with notes of sweet cherry and smooth chocolate. It's the perfect coffee for all you sweet tooths. There's also a first match guarantee that you'll love your first coffee, and if you don't, they'll ship you out a different bag for free. Now, my viewers will get 50% off their first bag when they sign up. Offer is valid for the first 100 people who click the link in the description. Just take the quiz, click my link in the description box, and enter in the code TONG50. Free shipping is included, so check out Trade Coffee today. Okay, to the Apple Watch, and in another drop from Ming-Chi Kuo, he echoes that the Series 7 could have the first significant redesign since the Series 4 that aligns with Apple's general design cues from the iPhone and iPad, and we have seen the renders from John Prosser and renders by Ian, and it's really exactly what you expect, and damn, they look good. Apple's also reportedly using a new double-sided system-in-package technology that will reduce the size of the processor. Now, a report from the Economic Daily News says that this smaller S7 chip will help free up space for a larger capacity battery or maybe additional health sensors. But we also know that the latest reports claim that many of these rumored health sensors like blood glucose monitoring, body temperature, even blood pressure have been pushed out to 2022. So maybe battery life can be a focus this year, but even if they put a slightly larger battery, I mean, how much battery life are we getting? Just maybe an extra day at the most? Now, the Apple Watch, it keeps getting better, but then it also gets more and more sensors that require more power, so its battery life has never gotten better for me. And I don't know about you, but it pretty much stays around the same since the very first model that I had. It gets me at about to maybe under a day and a half tops before I need to charge it. But if battery life is a selling point, this needs to be more than 2 days when you also talk about other smartwatch fitness bands who aren't as complex are getting 6 days on a single charge like the Fitbit Versa 3. Now, the new Apple Watch Series 7 is expected to get improved wireless connectivity, an improved U1 chip, thinner display bezels, and a new technique to bring the display closer to the front cover glass. And right now, you know, it still doesn't sound too compelling for me to upgrade from my Series 4. I talked about it. I've still thought about it. I don't know. We'll see what happens. Now, Apple announced the new digital ID feature that's coming to iOS 15, and it will only be available in limited states in the US. And this is going to take a while before it's fully adopted everywhere. At least, I would guess at least a year here in the United States, and realistically, even longer than that. But the hope is that the Apple Watch will also be an important part of this in watchOS 8, and that allows you to carry this digital ID on just your wrist in the Wallet app as well, alongside all your other credit cards. And then you also have the ability to, in the future, lock and unlock your front door. It'll be compatible with certain cars and really be your dedicated music player as well. So if we're sticking with the Apple Watch, we also got some new stuff here. International collection of sport loop bands is coming with watch faces to go along with them. Now, these represent 22 nations around the world just ahead of the Olympic Games set for Tokyo next month. Not every country has one, so I'm not going to name them because someone will take out their frustrations on me for a band not being there in the collection that I had nothing to do with because of the internet. They come in both the 40mm and 44mm sizes and will be available for a limited time for $49 a piece. And you'll be able to download the matching country stripe watch face directly from the packaging. This is limited, and that means it won't last forever. And then for all my gamers out there, exciting news. Microsoft's Xbox Cloud Gaming Service is now available if you use the Safari web browser on your iPhone or iPad, and if you have the Xbox Game Pass Ultimate membership. Now, we're doing it through a browser because Apple doesn't want another native app like this directly competing with Apple Arcade. Thanks, Apple. Now, new users can sign up for a 3-month trial for $1 a month and then $14.99 a month after that. But I'm pretty excited to just spend more time with this on the road, and obviously your network conditions are going to matter. It's still in beta, but Xbox plans to stream at 1080p at 60 frames per second with access to hundreds of games from the Xbox Game Pass library. Plus, you can connect a Xbox controller directly to your iPhone or iPad or use game and accessory controllers as well. All right, everybody, that's going to do it for this week's video. If you wanted to say something or react, put in the comments for me to check out, and, you know, I will read them if I'm looking at my phone with my eyes open. And if you like what you see, you know what to do. Give me that thumbs up, subs up, and hit that notification bell ding to get all my videos when they drop. And if you want more of that Apple goodness, you can check out my Apple Bits XL audio podcast to get the latest deep dive with all these stories and new ones every week with special guests. Thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you next time. Take care and be safe. Peace.